something here that is a kind of circle, you know, through different regions of the world, and I finally could find another way of existence in this country where I live, in this part of the world, and that's exactly what I wanted to express in the film.
That's fantastic. In the meantime, I'm looking to the audience if somebody has a question. Yeah, there's one very enthusiastic.
How did you find these wonderful little actors?
How did you find these fantastic actors who are spectacular?
Well, actually, I founded this cultural center for a foundation called Alizawa Foundation after my second feature film, and this was the very first center that we founded in Sidi Moumen. Since then, we have founded 4 other ones, and at this moment, I spend lots of time there to meet with the crews, to build it, and to sometimes resist also, because we have some resistance in the neighborhood, and to observe the youngsters in their everyday lessons, you know, because there is not only hip hop, there is dance, there is theater, there is music, there is lots of things happening in this place. And that's where I met this classroom of hip hop. One day a guy came and said, I'm a former rapper. I decided to quit hip hop, and now I want to give some lessons of hip hop. And I told him, but I didn't know that you can give lessons of hip hop. Hip hop is in the street. He said, no, there are some values that you can teach, and you can teach these values to those youngsters, because you can transform in a certain way their rage into something positive that's going to help them to grow up. And I said, yeah, okay, come. And this guy is NS, that you can see in the film. So I was very intrigued by this hip hop classroom. So I followed it for 1 year, you know, and that's how I met those youngsters.
So Anas is playing himself, basically.
Anas is playing himself, and 90% of the youngsters, they are part of this original hip hop classroom.
I think I saw 2 questions. You had one, maybe, or not? No, because.
But then, of course, we worked on the. Sorry. Then, of course, we worked on the characters, and some of them are very close of who they are in their everyday life. Some of them are very far of who they are in their everyday life. So each one of them had to play someone that sometimes is not him or her. That's the interesting part of the project, when we somehow work like in theater, you know, in creation.
You had a question, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Even 2 minutes possible?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I didn't have one, so I can have 2 maybe. Incredibly energetic movie. I love it very much. Enormous power. You said some of the actors played some person, character which is very different, far away from the real life. But when you go into the homes of some of the actors, is that the real homes, or is it also fictional? And my second question is, what was it again?
I'll repeat it for everybody in the back. It's basically about how much, let's say, authenticity, or when you, for instance, you go into the homes of some of the characters that are presumably playing themselves, are you also in their homes? How far does the realism go is basically the question. How much non-fiction have you placed into this semi-fictional environment?
You know what, that was the biggest challenge of the film, is how to match actually the real part of this environment and those youngsters, this center, the dreams. So the fiction part is their dreams and the expectation that you can find in the songs, in the raps, in the slams, and in everything that is written. And actually the script begins at the very beginning of the film and ends at the very end of the film, and the social aspect of the film. And to give formally something that is coherent, you know, and that at any moment the viewer can feel the writing or the mise en scène, the directing, you know. So to balance that was something very new for me, and it came all the way along. And so what I did, the very first moment of building this film is that I sat with them and I discussed with them about their life and why they are here and where those words come from. Because I heard them singing and, you know, in the classroom, and they told me their stories, and some of them asked me if I wanted to visit their homes, which I did, and I met their families. And I decided then that those who lived and were born in a shanty town, because the cultural center is circled by shanty town, would be in the film in the same conditions. So, Meryem, for example, the veiled girl, and Ismail, who's the red T-shirt, who's singing at night in the shanty. It's where they belong. It's where they were born. It's where they grew up. You know, it's not their real homes. It's not their real parents and real family. Those are actors, but they belong to this place.
Yeah, and the second one, of course, I'm very curious how it was received in Morocco. We can see it here in fantastic theaters with art-loving cinema audience, but you also want to reach, of course, people in Morocco. But you have a lot of experience. All your films, you had the same